We're actually having a decent season too. I mean, minus the whole Cal situation, but
yeah, I've seen I haven't had a ton of time to get on or updated with all the stats and all the new players and stuff yet this year. I've been super busy moving. I just moved into a house, so I've been just busy trying to transfer my studio and everything.
Oh, nice, man. Congrats.
Thanks. Yeah.
First house or?
Yeah. We were just I got married about 3 years ago, and we were living out in California, and we just sort of bounced around out there and then had a loft and stuff. But then about a year ago moved here. So just excited to be in a house because I did have an apartment and a studio separate. So now they're all in one, which is way better for me.
Man, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So
what kind of studio you got?
It's a recording studio. I do a lot of just rock and metal stuff, but lately I've been doing this voiceover thing for a medical company, which is probably the most boring thing I've ever done, but it's definitely, it's nice to just show up and be done at the end of it and not have a ton of editing and, all kinds of recording type stuff to do.
So when you're not in the studio with the band and you're not touring, you do music for stuff like that, for a side, job or whatever?
Yeah.
Huh. That's quite interesting. I, again, wouldn't have pictured that.
It's so funny. I'm watching that show, Shameless, and the chick's dating a musician. Obviously, I don't know. He tours in local areas, but that's what he does. He writes music for
jingles, like Uncle Jesse
shows.
did.
It's you would not want to fucking listen to this because it's for a little kids TV show. It makes you want to kill yourself.
Well, it was like Charlie.
Well, luckily, I haven't had to do that yet.
Hey, if the money's right, you're gonna fucking do it. Why not?
Oh yeah. If the price is right, I'll do write pretty much any kind of music you want.
You want me to play Lady Gaga? Sure, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Just pay me.
Just like Goodfellas. Yeah, you want something done? Fuck you, pay me. But yeah, man. Yeah. So you actually have a new single out called Censorship, right?
Right.
Nice. And it's actually very, very hard. Harder than your previous album, what I got out of it. So is the rest of the album coming up on October 21st, I think?
Yeah, I think that, the record in general came out a little bit heavier because for, a variety of reasons. We started the first record, and I kind of explained to everyone that there was this optimistic vibe about everything because I think we were kind of, it was a new beginning. We were trying to distract ourselves from the sort of really disappointing reality at the time that, of events, current events at that point in time. So we were writing things, that I think sort of distracted us and sort of just took us out of that and let us continue moving forward and stuff. And also with Shane, he was our singer, he was our new singer at the time. So he was, involved in this new project and everything was really fresh. And, there was this really optimistic vibe. And I think maybe the main difference with this record is that we went into it and, sort of the socio-political climate of everything right now is just kind of put a weird dark haze on everything, at least, for us. And as we were starting to write the record, that combined with just the fact that we, come from metal bands and we wanted to sort of incorporate a little of what we left out of the first record. I think it was just sort of the perfect storm that ended up making this sort of, oddly dark record for us. But, we were just kind of taking it where it went, letting it write itself. And that's what came out. So I think, it's just a blend of a few different things, the false, or maybe not false. It wasn't like it was not authentic, but just that, that forced optimism that, allowed us to get through, trying time, I think didn't have to be there anymore. And we kind of just let what, we were personally feeling at the time dictate the lyrics and, the direction of the music instead of trying to create a vibe.
So when you were writing the first album, did you guys try to basically, obviously, you're all the same members except for Shane, as for As I Lay Dying. Did you say we're starting this other band that we don't want it to sound like As I Lay Dying?
Yeah, and that was another reason that maybe the first record was a little different. I think is unconsciously we wanted to really separate ourselves from what was going on at the time, and I think musically even we wanted to do that. And even though, to me, I listen back to the record and I hear riffs and I'm like, that easily could have been an As I Lay Dying song.
Yeah.
Like it altogether, was a more melodic approach, I guess. And that's what we wanted to define this band is, just using melody and not just screaming over a part because the lead singer doesn't sing, So we had Shane and he had this amazing voice. So we're like, we should just use this. And, there's a couple of like scattered screaming spots on there, but it was something that, we didn't really care, or it's not that we didn't care to explore. It's just, we didn't know if Shane could, and we didn't think that it needed it. But, with the desire sort of to bring back some of the heavier elements on this record, and then Shane also just discovering more about his voice, we realized on tour the past couple of years that he does have this insanely really good scream, so having that in the arsenal was really cool for writing parts, because a lot of the first record we were just writing based on what we knew Shane's strengths were. We didn't really know that his strengths were screaming then. So I think it's just with this record we weren't as concerned with just distinguishing ourselves from our old bands just for the sake of it. We wanted to just write whatever we felt like writing.
Well, actually, to go back to your first point, I was gonna point this out. Because I'm a huge As I Lay Dying fan, and actually loved the first Wovenwar album. When I hear that, I point out these two, Death to Rights. Sorry, I'm saying that messed up.
Can't
and
read
Tempest.
your own handwriting.
Yeah, exactly. Dead. And Tempest. They sound. It's like you can immediately. Tempest. Obviously, you pick it up. You're like, boom, As I Lay Dying, and then the floor drops out, and you hear the verse, and you're like, all right, this is something different. But it's still, like you said, you could. Easily you hear Death to Rights and you're like, this could totally be an As I Lay Dying song.
Yeah, you hear the riff style and you know that it's the same players, and like especially Tempest, that song to me is like it sounds like I can think of a lot of riffs that it sounds similar to with As I Lay Dying, but then we brought in the more like chilled out vibey verse, and that's something that we definitely still explore on the new album, but it's just I think we use those kind of parts in to juxtapose the heavier stuff that we did, because the first record we were just sort of flailing and just writing immediately without any regard for what we were even doing. It just was a really like natural thing that just happened really quickly, and all of a sudden we have a record deal and all of a sudden the record's out. It was really quick, like within 6 months it was everything, the album was finished. So I think this time we had a little more time to develop what we even, what Wovenwar is and what Wovenwar is capable of.
Yeah, it's actually funny too when you listen to the album. It's like you go 8 songs in, and you're like, oh wait, here's the first scream,
Right.
It's only in like one part. It's in I forget the song, but it's almost to just like break up the parts.
Yeah, definitely. It's just like to emphasize parts. And that was a lot of, a big reason for that was just that we didn't really know that Shane could scream, and he didn't know he could scream. It just happened because from us going on tour and beating up our voices, we both sort of developed that slight ability to scream, and except Shane just kept moving forward with it. And all of a sudden has this scream that's like worthy of sort of being the frontman scream type voice. So that just, it's something we didn't know was going to happen until it happened, and we were all really excited that what new possibilities we had for the new record with it.
So the new record's got more screams on it. Do you have like verses and I didn't really listen to the first song too much, but do you have like more parts dedicated to screaming in this one now that he's found that?
Oh, absolutely. I would say there's probably I would say maybe a third of the record is screaming, probably, like of each song. There's of course certain songs where there's only a scream or two, sort of just to, or maybe certain songs that have no screaming, but then there's a couple songs that are everything you hear of Shane in the song is screaming. So I mean, it's kind of we just let it depend on what the song needed, but we also wrote some songs that absolutely beg to have that scream in there. So we did. I wouldn't say that it's not like the same balance of screaming to singing as a band like Oh Sleeper As Lay Dying is, but has quite a lot more screaming than the first record.
Now I noticed also too that you actually have a lot less because in As I Lay Dying you were the primary melodic vocalist. and in the first Wovenwar album, you had a lot less of a prominence. It was mostly Shane. Do you have more parts in this album, or is it still like the backing vocals and like underlying vocal parts that you have?
Yeah, there's actually, we took the chance over the past couple of years. I think we realized, all right, so on a song like maybe from the last record, like All Rise or something, Shane was singing in like that top 90%, the 90% of his range. He was like living at the very top of his range, and that kind of stuff is really hard to just pull off live unless you're standing completely still, for anyone. So I think on the new record, we definitely wrote parts, like if we wanted a really, layered chorus sound, it would be me on lead vocals with Shane backing, and then he would do all the verse, or, it really depends on the song, but I would say that I sang quite a lot more on this record than the last one. Just, we sort of have established Shane as the front guy. So I step in whenever, because I have a very limited scope of what my voice can do. It's usually what we call, like the 127, all the MIDI freaks out there will know what that means. It's kind of like the top velocity that you can pick when you're programming MIDI. And so my voice pretty much only works in like balls out mode. I don't really have an exciting voice in the lower range. So pretty much anything melody wise that falls into that is always going to be Shane, because that's where he shines with that like rich rock voice, and for singing wise. And if it needs to be the more, like shrieking top end, that's me.
I hear you. Hey Dan, didn't you see Wovenwar live?
No, I've actually tried to go to a couple. They just weren't in. Yeah, I just weren't able to go. But they're actually playing at a common place that we play at, Stanhope House in New Jersey.
And that's on October 15th, and they're with Soilwork, Unearth, Battlecross, and Darkness Divided is also on the tour.
Yep. Yeah, it's all friends. We know pretty much every band pretty well, other than Darkness Divided, and I'm sure after a couple of days and we have a couple of beers, it'll be the same with those guys.
Absolutely. And the funniest part is this like gigantic tour that could be playing in maybe like, I don't know, maybe 600 to 800 person venues, even more, is playing Stanhope House, which is a bar with like a 2-foot stage.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know how you're going to fit a double bass kit on that stage.
I really don't know either. It's going to be really
a lot of work for them.
Well, I'll say this, we've, with Wovenwar toured with a bunch of bands that have a lot of backline, and especially Black Label Society. I mean, you've seen those stages, and we've made stages work that you could not imagine, like your first garage band playing on. So I know that we're sharing a lot of gear. I think that the last last 4 bands might all be sharing a kit. I'm not exactly sure on that, but we're it's because everybody knows everyone so well. Even on shows like that, usually the crew and bands work together to make it work so that no one's like extremely screwed on space. I've never really seen even the most, professional headliner type bands with huge crews. They're usually there to help. So I assume it'll work. It'll probably be a great show with the crowd that close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now what, does like the people that help you out, do they ever like limit the kit to fit in specific spaces, like maybe the less cymbals or stuff like that?
No, I mean we've never experienced that. I can't imagine a band doing that, because it kind of cripples a drummer, I would say. For us, with every tour we've done, we sort of even like scale down our rigs, just not only for just convenience sake, but also just for load in, going upstairs with gear. We nowadays, with the capability of the Axe Effects and Kempers and stuff like that, bands can show up with 100 pounds of guitar gear instead of 500 pounds and 3 different racks and all this stuff. We just kind of show up with 1 rack and we're ready to enroll in about 5 minutes. So
it's safe to say there isn't going to be any pyrotechnics at this show.
I mean, unless Nick's rig catches on fire. But
yeah,
I'm just kidding. That's never
true.
happened. I actually have had a rig catch on fire in Europe before, a bass amp. So definitely won't make fun of that because it's happened to me, and I didn't have a backup on stage, so it was definitely like a 5-minute interlude in the middle of our set. So
what did they do? Come out with fire extinguishers and like stop playing and just like start shooting your amp?
well, no, what it was is that it immediately the fire went out, like burned out on its own, but
how
my backup was not in anywhere near, because it was like the first show of a tour, and I just have done so many tours in my life that's never been an issue that there wasn't even a backup, because it was like, in Europe you kind of run in bare bones anyway. So I definitely now always roll with some sort of backup.
Yeah, that's I can only imagine just like starting off a tour that happens. Did anything else crazy happen on that said tour or no?
Well, the tour that I'm speaking of right now, I can't remember honestly, because this is around 2008 or 9 when that happened.
Right.
Yeah, this was back in the day in the UK in some dark like basement venue we played, is all I remember. But definitely came out without catching the place on fire. So that's usually the goal.
Yeah, it sucks after the whole Great White thing up in Rhode Island, I think it was.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, honestly, I think less pyrotechnics in small venues is better for all of us, even if it's the safest setup possible. It's just you never know, man.
Or even no pyrotechnics. I mean, I just saw Bring Me the Horizon not too long ago, and they had like literal, like it seemed like smoke cannons that just went, and literally it caught the back of a security guard, and I believe he got a little bit burnt from that.
Yeah, because those are actually, they're CO2, so they might, I don't know if they come out cold or what, but I've seen bands with those, and I think we've had them a couple times in Europe, like on some of the festival shows. Yeah, we've played with pyro before, but it's definitely always in an outdoor, well ventilated and well, certified,
well
place
controlled.
To do
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, believe it or not, I saw your band As I Lie Dying once, and that was with Slipknot and Asking Alexandria. And the only thing I remember about that show, well, other than you guys having a great performance, was one guy who had a huge back tattoo dedicated to As I Lie Dying, and I don't know why it just stuck with me for the rest of my life.
Because it's crazy dedication right there.
Yeah, it was like you have a chest piece, but like on the back, and so it was like the whole top half of his back was dedicated to you guys. So have you ever seen like a crazy ass tattoo like that of something that of As I Lie Dying or Wovenwar or with your lyrics or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we see quite a few fans that have, maybe gotten their ticket signed or something, and then they go get that tattooed, or even we signed their arm and they have that tattooed, which is crazy. But, even, with Wovenwar, like the symbol ended up being something that's like easily tattooable, and, it definitely like lends itself easily to being tattooed. So we've seen a few people with that, which is rad. It's something that, you never really think about when you're like creating a logo or something, but seeing that and just seeing people's dedication is definitely something that I've thought about when I'm like, when you're writing and you're just like, man, does anyone care? And then you think of those people and you're like, that person cares probably a little too much, but that's awesome. I mean, I have a music related tattoo, so I understand that the need or want to do something like that.
Yeah, I have one of my favorite bands is tattooed on my leg, so I can relate.
Yeah, I mean that's me too. I have the white pony on my leg.
Oh, that's fucking awesome! I love Deftones.
Yeah, they're one of my favorites.
Now, I'm guessing you enjoyed that album, but like to hear like Chino's like flat out said that he thought that most of the album was a mistake. Like, how does that make you feel a little bit?
It's weird. I understand that mentality though, because there's certain songs or certain moments that you listen back to and you're like, that didn't turn out at all like I wanted it to, and you then hear from some fan that's like the song that got them through some tough period or whatever, and it gives it a new light. So I can understand how maybe they don't even really fully grasp how much something they created affected someone.
Yeah. Especially you, if you ended up getting the tattoo of the white pony on your leg, man.
Exactly. And I know like 2 other people I've met with the same tattoo in the same spot, so I'm not alone.
That's crazy. I've never understood the argument that people have, when you tell them like, oh, I'm thinking about getting a tattoo and, I want to get my favorite band, and they're like, well, what if they break up? And I'm like, listen, if, for instance, As I Lay Dying. If I got a tattoo of you guys and you broke up, that does not mean I'm going to stop listening to your previous catalog of music and just totally disband and get my tattoo covered up. It's a symbol for something that was there at that point in my life. So even if you did break up, it's still, like I said, a part of your life, and you can still relate to it even though it's, done, at least for now.
Yeah,
Anyway.
so I mean, it's like throwing some trinket from, a vacation on your dresser or something that you look at and reminds you of it. It just happens to be that it's, scarred into your skin for eternity.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. But actually, going back to your logo, and I'm looking at it now. Whose idea was it with the not fully circle, like the broken link?
I think that we kind of were reading. We worked with the same artist as we worked with for the first record. He's the one who actually designed that logo for us. We kind of always give him the lyrics and sort of some of the subject matter and what it means to us first, and he sort of comes up with the first record, he saw it as like sort of a I don't know, like a, what's the right word, sort of like someone just, well, for this record, I think it could mean several things, the chain with a link out of it. And I think, we didn't necessarily ask for that. It was just sort of an idea he came up with. It was actually the second artwork we got for the record. The first artwork, for the cover that we got was actually this funeral wreath that was really cool. We just ended up not really liking the color scheme as much. Sort of like the honor is dead. It's kind of like, okay, dead, funeral. And it looked awesome. Like the photo was amazing, but we just, to be honest, we wanted something a little darker. And so we might end up still using that art for something. It's really cool. But as far as like a record cover, we kind of, asked for something darker, and he came up with the broken chain.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome.
It's funny when I look at that, I kind of get like I kind of get like an image of a spider for some reason, like it's kind of upside down and like dead. When they crumple up and their legs are like standing up.
I see that too.
Yeah, I think for us, we mentioned like how it'd be cool to have interlocking W's or something, just because there's two of them in there, and then that was literally the first thing he sent after 45 minutes was like, what do you guys think about this? I just mocked it up, and we're like, that's it. Like, work no more. That's what we want.
Well, that was easy. 45 minutes, boom, you got your logo.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yep.
So what did you do as far as the record label? So after As I Lay Dying, because it's the same, you guys are on the same label as the As I Lay Dying, or is it a different one?
No, it's the same label, Metal Blade Records. They, we met with them shortly after everything went down, and we kind of knew it was the end of As I Lay Dying. And they just let us know, they're like, no pressure, but just know that we're behind you guys should you decide to continue writing. And for us, that was a big encouragement, just knowing that, they were going to support us moving forward. And we always, we started writing before we necessarily had a record deal. And I don't even think we actually signed the record deal till the record was completely finished, and already mixed and mastered. We just sort of like self-funded it and then signed a deal afterwards. But yeah, it was definitely helpful just to know that they were still in it with us, and that they, after, I think at that point the band had been signed to Metal Blade for almost a decade, if not more. So it's a long friendship and, business relationship that, we really respect Metal Blade, and they've always been great to us. So we really had no conversation of going to any other label. We just knew it was going to be Metal Blade.
Yeah, they seem definitely like a great, label. Listening to the owner, I think it's Brian, just say that they don't let anything, pass them by. If someone there says, listen, this is a really good band, they said that they listen to it. If they think that it's something good and it's good material to go forward with, that they will. He just seems like a very, straightforward, like really good guy. It doesn't seem like it's about money at all,
Yeah, I mean,
get.
at the very base of it, they're just in it for the music. They're not there to put a band. They're not there for the money. They're not there to put a band on the cover of Rolling Stone. they want to take interesting, great bands and develop them, and I think that they do that really well.
Mm-hmm. They started out. I was researching it. He started out just kind of putting like compilations of music, putting Metallica together, and now it's a full-fledged popular metal label.
And the funny part is, on like one of the first releases that he put out, like a little compilation CD, he spelt Metallica wrong. He spelled it with 2 T's. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they like made up that name once they knew they were going to be in a compilation, because he was kind of just like, "Hey guys, why don't you come onto my compilation?" Like that I'm putting together. Don't quote me on that, but if I know the story correctly, I believe that there was a lot of just Brian sort of prodding them to get their song onto his compilation. So he was kind of he definitely, there's a lot of bands you hear of that Brian and the others at Metal Blade hear before they're necessarily some gigantic band, but they hear how great a band is and sort of believe in them before anyone else.
That's a good thing to have in a record label.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's better than some labels that give you maybe, let's go with a 10-year deal worth at like $100,000, which I actually heard from a band, which I'm not going to say. And then they go to another label and they're like, all right, we'll give you one release at $100,000. And like you could tell that, they just want you locked in for life. And you have other ones that are just there for the music and just want to see you progress. And I get that from Metal Blade. It just... They, like Dan said, they're all about the music, not about making a quick buck, because if they want to make a quick buck, they're definitely in the wrong business, in the metal business.
Exactly. I think for them, it's a gamble, because it's expensive to make records. It's expensive to distribute records, but that's why they believe, they have to believe so much in the artists they put out, because, it is also a business. And so you can tell, when they do go into business with a band, that they are definitely believe in them, and they're down for the cause.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the one thing, the one reason why I listen to metal, because it's mostly about the love for music. Like rap music. Do you really? I mean, most of them, yeah, maybe some of them do it because they love it, but a lot of it's just when people listen to it, it's to feel cool and like blast your subs. With metal, I feel like it's a little bit more. It's more about the love for the music than trying to make money or a quick buck, like John said.
Yeah, I think for metal bands, you'd be kind of silly to get into it to make money, and I think most people get into it just because they love playing music. They love riffing out on guitar, bass, drums, whatever, and just playing music for people. And if you end up finding that niche where you can make a living from it, like we have in the past, it's great, and then it's also great just to have that release, even if you're making $0 from it. It's just something that you might not want it to be the case, but if you're like me, it's just something that no matter how financially unstable it could get, I think I'll always play music, no matter on what kind of a stage it is.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, a lot of people got into music because they just, they wanted to get up on stage and thrash and go crazy and have a good time, and they didn't think that they were going to get famous, and it just happened, after getting shows and shows that boom, they got big. That's a lot in metal, they just want to freaking play music and have fun, and then it turns into something like a career.
Yeah, it turns into a business overnight, more or less.
Yep, pretty much.
So I'm actually looking at the active roster for Metal Blade, and holy shit, that's a ton of bands and acts. I know you're playing on tour with some of the bands from Metal Blade, and I'm shocked it's not like a Metal Blade Records tour type of deal, like having their name on there. And it's called the Fury Tour, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And if you could pick any act on Metal Blade to tour with, or to open for, or have open for you, whatever you want, who would it be?
Man, we've toured with quite a few of them. Some of the bands, that come to mind that I would love to tour with again, or maybe haven't toured with and would want to. Like I definitely love Amon Amarth. Those guys.
Yeah.
We toured with them in Europe once, and that tour was amazing. Great guys, like really fun to hang out with. Between the Barricade and me, I mean, we've toured with them as well in the States before, or our old band did, but it, those guys have always inspired me ever since I first heard them in 2002. They've been progressing and just, I don't know, just incredible band. Trying to think. I mean, there's so many that come to mind. It's hard for me to even choose, to be honest. But, I really like some of the stuff that, Cattle Decapitation has put out, and a Legion. Like, there's quite a few. I mean, to be honest, there's so many good bands. You could pick, just close your eyes and point at one, and it would probably be rad.
Is Unearth still with Metal Blade?
They are not. I don't think they have been for maybe
a while.
5 years or so, something like that.
Jeez.
Yeah, you want to know? So first, I don't think I noticed that As I Lay Dying was on Metal Blade until I Unearth. For some reason, when I started getting into Unearth, that was like, oh, that's why, because Buzz used to wear the shirts with the cut off Metal Blade shirts. So I'm like,
Right.
nice. I always associate them with Metal Blade Records because of that moment when I started getting into them. But that's another band too, and I listen to, like, as far as my primary, influences, it's Unearth and As I Lay Dying, and it's just
That's
those
awesome.
are both from Metal Blade,
Yeah.
And now Adam D from Killswitch is on Metal Blade
Yep.
with his side project. So it's
Corpse
like,
Grinder and Shannon Lucas, yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
like all my influences like thrown into one label. It's crazy.
Yeah, man. I mean, they definitely, when it comes to metal, there's really not a better label to be on.
Yeah, definitely.
I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah, definitely.
So anyways, since you are in a metal band and you do listen to metal, do you listen to anything other than metal? Like, maybe do you listen to rap or pop or anything that you maybe won't like to admit?
Oh, yeah, and I'm not afraid to admit that. I'm not one of those guys who, like, I don't get embarrassed by that because it's just, it's what I like. So why would I be embarrassed? But I don't know. I'm trying to think. I mean, I really love, outside of the metal, I like bands I like Jimmy Eat World a lot. I think they,
Great band.
have done so much for, soundscapes. When you listen to their records, they're one of the first bands that really inspired me with, doing like these lush kind of soundscapes and songs. I really, outside of metal even, I really like some of the production on stuff like Lana Del Rey. Like I think her overall vibe is just so cool, and it's relaxing, something I would listen to when I'm going to bed or something. Obviously into a lot of, just, I really like, I guess, well, that would be considered metal. Trying to think, I really like Kendrick Lamar if I'm going to listen to hip hop, that, and, trying to think. This is one of those questions, you always know the answer to until someone asks
Of
you.
course,
and then
yes.
you're trying to, like,
Or until after
go
the
through-
interview.
Yeah.
Exactly. But, there's, when it comes to things that outside of the genre that maybe some extreme metalhead might frown upon, those are some of them. Those are some of the ones that stick out. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm really that big of a country fan at all. Shane is a huge country fan. He likes some stuff that I actually would be embarrassed if I did like, but I don't. So I won't mention those. But
But the problem
Yeah.
is a lot of country, like a lot of the mainstream country, is basically the same thing. Well, I took my baby to the bar last night, jumped in the tractor and I drove her home, and then my dog came and
Yeah.
humped my leg. It's like, what the fuck? It's every fucking song.
well, yeah, and any country that I do love is stuff that I was exposed to when I was really young, and it's also before that kind of line between pop and country sort of blurred, and it's just the same thing, So I definitely can understand why somebody could get into country, because the musicianship is just unbelievable still, even on the really crappy stuff. But it's really just the subject matter and monotony of it that I don't get into.
Well, it's basically the infamous joke, what happens when you play a country song backwards?
What is that?
You get your dog back, you get your truck back.
Yeah, it is funny because it's literally like I barely listen to country, but when I hear it on the radio or I hear it like flipping through channels, it literally is all about that. It's like it's basically like a party genre. It's all about drinking and having a good time, and
Which is good, yeah.
No, it's
fucking
awesome,
Definitely
but-
do that.
yeah. But I also feel like when you write music, it should be something more about like the lyrics should be more substantial than just I'm gonna go out and have a beer and have a good time and
well, there's a need for that, I think,
Yeah.
too. And I would listen to like Andrew WK if I was in that mood, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you know, Def Leppard or I don't know, something, you know, badass. And I don't know, you just you know, different strokes for different folks. I mean, if you had this same question for Shane, he probably would have
beat the shit out of me.
Listed some of those
what are you
country
talking
bands
about?
that we're
Love
talking
that.
about. Yeah.
But
that's, you know, that's the beauty of it, I guess. Everybody can have their own opinion.
Yeah, and it's like misconceptions with metal. You know, I don't listen to metal because I want to kill people. I listen to metal because it gets me amped up and excited to do things. You know, if I didn't, I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do this. You know, at least when I listen to that, it gets me amped up, gets me pumped. It doesn't get me, you know, excited to go out and shoot up people. You know, which is like a misconception for people that don't. You know, no, they hear screaming.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they killed their mother. No, it's actually, you know, there's a lot of substantial lyrics behind those screams.
Yeah, for me, you know, there's with metal at least, I think it's a weird double standard because you know, there's tons of people who probably hate metal because of, you know, the themes or the whatever they perceive the themes could be about, but then they love to watch like violent horror movies or something. Like there's plenty of people, and it's like, you know, it's still entertainment, you know what I mean? Like maybe some of the bands are serious about it, but maybe some of the directors of a horror movie are serious about it. You know, you don't really know. It's like a different, you know, just a different texture for your palate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And then you have people like Rob Zombie who blend the lines with both.
Exactly, and that's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. I think he has a new movie coming out, right, Dan?
Yeah, when I saw the preview, it looks kind of like Devil's Rejects. It almost like it was like a splitting image. I don't know if when it comes out. I think it comes out soon. I'm not a huge fan of.
I'm guessing around Halloween
stuff, but yeah. No, I actually could have sworn it was supposed to be out sooner than that, but I would assume like October, you know, November would definitely be time for his movie to be released.
Yeah, and to think,
definitely.
Yeah, and to think that he just got off a tour with Korn, and now he's like, okay, well, now it's time to promote my movie. Like, this guy seems like he never stops.
No, it doesn't.
Jesus.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, that's the dream, to be able to just do what you love, like be creative in either music or film. I guess for him, you know, he gets to do exactly what he wants to do and be creative whenever he wants, which is pretty much, I think, any artist's ultimate goal.
So if you could do something else other than music, or aside, like with him, he's doing movies with music alongside your music, what would it be?
I mean, I've definitely always been interested in looking into like soundtrack type stuff, you know, like accompanying a movie or something like that with music. And I think that, you know, it's definitely a completely different world, and it would take a lot of practice because it's just so different from what I do. But I'd like to think that, you know, I you know, as a musician, kind of pay more attention to those things and have kind of a good starting point. But who knows? I might completely suck at it. I don't know.
Now, John, I'm not aware of any other bands that did something like Linkin Park did for Transformers 2. Do you know of any? Because that was the first time I'm like, oh, look, shit, a popular band I listened to is actually going to do a soundtrack for a movie. And they even used like parts of like one of their songs, New Divide. They used it as like some, you know, the music behind certain scenes. Yeah. You know?
Well, I mean, that's really cool. I think, you know, like there's been more of that happened with video games. You know, you hear a lot of guys, like I know Meshuggah did some music for some video games, and I know, you know, there's a few musicians I've heard about that, like well-known musicians who have lent their stuff to that. I mean, I do know that some of the like 80s shredders definitely used to do Sweet Dive Bombs and like Lethal Weapon and stuff. That's that's close, you know.
Yeah, you want to know? It's actually if you've played it, John. I know you don't like this kind of video game, but
if it's not sports, it's not for me.
But Doom. Dude, you gotta listen to the soundtrack. It, you know, when we were talking about metal and like the misconception, it's exactly what you would think from metal, like Doom. You know, you're killing demons, and you just hear like metal, like dun, 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 like you hear like sick like metal stuff going behind it, and you just picture, all right, demons, slaying demons, killing people, chopping off heads, and metal. This is perfect, you know. So I was gonna say, as far as video game soundtracks, they have it like spot on for metal. But yeah, if you ever get a chance to play it, it's dude, the music is pretty sick.
I might dabble into it, Dan.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I'm going to flat out buy it right now as soon as we're done with the interview, but
yeah. All right, so I'll get it and I'll rent it and play it, and you can just sit back and listen to the music.
But that's the problem. I don't have a PS4.
So you can I have 2.
Oh, I'm supposed to watch you play?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, what the fuck? I'm not like a teenager who goes onto YouTube and watches that shit.
Where there is also 2-player.
I mean, yeah, that's also true.
You could also play it with me, John.
I can. Thank you. Thank you for the fucking invite, Dan.
You're welcome.
Jesus Christ. I don't know, but yeah. Anyways, like all these teenagers watching people play video games. Like I remember when I was younger, if someone was hogging the video game, I'd want to fucking fight them. Like I just want to play, and like people are making millions on millions of dollars. What the fuck? Was that a domestic dispute? What the hell's going on back there, Josh? Is everything all right?
No. I'm here. I was just listening, just paying attention. I'm grabbing a piece of pizza, actually.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
All right. We heard some screaming. I was like,
Someone's
No,
dying.
that was on TV. Sorry.
Oh. Okay. I was this close to making a Tim joke, but I decided
Refrain
not
from
to.
it.
Yes, if I want a career in this. But anyways, like I was saying, it's crazy how we grew up doing something and like playing video games. Like we all love playing video games, and now kids these days seem to be extremely bored with playing them and watching other people play with them in like a silly voice. Like, did you ever think about like how ridiculous that could be one day where, instead of people playing actually it's already existing in the EDM world. I was about to say, instead of people playing an instrument, they could just play something on a computer and be millionaires. But that's basically what's happening with EDM right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the dream that I had, and it's not the dream that most of the people I've ever played with have. But at the same time, there does come along some people who actually have some kind of genuine, unique talent, even if they are only using that kind of stuff. So it's like somebody like them paves the way for a bunch of hacks that are riding their coattails. Because there's plenty of electronic music we can probably all name, like Nine Inch Nails. And I mean, not that I'm a huge fan, but Skrillex even, he is someone who I think you hear like an aggressive music influence in what he did. And, a lot of people have copied him and stuff, but they, I don't think you can deny that guy, had something original, at least at one point.
Well, that's the crazy part about Sonny Moore. So he started off with From First to Last, ended up, I think, blowing out his voice and got like vocal nodes or something like that. Doctor told him, all right, lay low off the singing and the screaming. So he basically stopped doing that. Then he put out an electronic album that completely bombed. Like, I don't remember the name of it. All I remember was he was on like the AP tour that year. And then I think he went over to England or something like that, was introduced to dubstep. And he was like, you know what? Maybe I should try and bring this over to the U.S. And then he wins a fucking Grammy. He's like one of the top EDM stars in the world.
Exactly. Yeah. He like took something that was sort of on the underbelly, but made it something that unique that everyone could like. That wasn't too far. That was still palatable for like the average music listener, I guess. But there's also most of the stuff I hear on the radio that I know wasn't played by humans. That's still, it takes, I guess, some skill to write a song that people care about, but it's, it's definitely not something that, I've ever been super interested in, I guess.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like from a production standpoint, the songs are great. Like having all of these things happening at once and in like a synchronized, melody, it's great. Seeing it live is a little stranger. I actually went out to Vegas last year around this time, and ended up going to a pool party where Zed was DJing. And Zed is, one of the top names in EDM. And there was maybe like 100 to 200 people there. And I'm sitting there expecting to just see, some Swedish guy pumping his fist up in the air the entire time, like jumping around like an idiot. But it was kind of like a mainstream version of Gwar, meaning you had shit like thrown at you. You had like toilet paper, you had fucking streamers, you had like water grenades. Like it was pretty fucking cool. So, I mean, honestly, they don't, they can't really reproduce what they do live, but what they do live, they put on a party. And I guess that's what
they have to figure out, something visual to keep you, if they're not, on some gigantic stage with 1,000 LEDs, they have to do something, I guess, to make it a show. And that's, I think that's a big thing is a lot of people just, they're there for a show and they, for them, it's the experience of the show and not necessarily seeing musicians, playing
yeah.
something technically impressive, I guess.
So is there any focus on your mind or anybody in the band to, we really need to get a better, overall image, or at the show we really need to do more like theatrics
or synchronize like
yeah,
jumping
or like, for instance, like, oh, we need to get like more YouTube videos, or are you guys basically just 100% down for we just need to focus on touring and writing songs?
Well, I mean, we definitely, consider our image in terms of just like, well, we in like a photo of the band, we want to look like a cohesive band, but we don't really plan out what we're going to wear. We don't plan out stage moves, obviously, and stuff like that. But, as far as, when we do have the budget to, we definitely consider production on stage, not necessarily theatrics, but, just lighting, whether we get a lighting package or if we hire a light guy to, know our songs, and kind of, I think that's, such a big part of the live show is having, at least the more synchronization you can have, or a light guy that knows your set, it's like almost as important as the sound guy who knows your set, because they can, like add to those moods that you're playing. But, I guess if you're talking about theatrics, like costumes and stuff, or do we all like, go get spray tans before a tour or anything? Not really.
Yo, let's go get blowouts. Spray tans and blowouts. Hair, so no, I know.
I'd have to, get some extensions first.
No, but and I was just thinking in the terms of like Motionless in White, where they're all painted white. They have like that look, because I think it's the bass player. He wears like this.
It looks like a nun.
Yeah, he looks like a nun, but you see him, when he's on tour outside of that, and he just like, looks like a normal, person in a metal band. He's got tattoos and, black cutoff shirt and like maybe shorts. You don't see like that huge, that display that, I know that because it's hot as balls, but it's just funny to see like that transition, and then that for stage, this is like, our theme. This is what we're trying to go for on stage to get like that certain following or whatever.
Yeah, but that's the same in like every genre of music. Do you honestly think Lady Gaga's a fucking freak out in her own personal life?
You never know, dude.
Do you think she's wearing meat dresses like at home, just chilling on the couch?
Well, for instance, like, I was watching one of Motionless in White's videos yesterday, where you see these people that are decked out in, black makeup, and dude, from high school, there's people out there that dress like that,
yes.
They're constantly like that. So you think that when you see that on stage, this is what they do every day, and some of the members in the band do, but others,
I think it's hyped up a little bit, Dan.
Yeah, exactly. No, definitely.
I don't think King Diamond wears the makeup everywhere he goes.
Oh, exactly. Like
Although that'd be fucking awesome.
Walking around like Poison all day long.
Yeah, I think, it really just depends on the band, and I think how, honestly, there's a lot of bands maybe that wouldn't have gotten that initial, sort of attention or artists, without that look, I guess. I would say, a band like Motionless in White, I think they write some really good music.
Definitely.
And I think that kind of like creepy, like metalcore Rob Zombie, like sort of sound that they pull off, Marilyn Manson kind of thing, definitely with that imagery sort of gives it a different life that maybe, who knows, maybe they still would have been exactly as big without it. But I definitely know it's something striking, and anything that you can, set you apart, I guess, is probably a good thing if you're going for that.
Yeah, going back to Rob Zombie, he wouldn't be that way, with the movies probably, if he didn't have that live aspect, and even in the music videos, they had that, certain theatrics.
Yeah. The one cool thing I did hear, I think it was the comedian Jim Norton. He ended up meeting Marilyn Manson before his set, I think at Rock on the Range, whenever Manson played, either this past year or the year before. He actually went into his dressing room, and it was about 50 degrees and pitch black. And you think of like stereotypes like, okay, yeah, he's fucking weird. No, Marilyn Manson apparently goes balls out with his performances, gets in like the right mindset and shit like that, just to be dark and weird, I guess. But it's just crazy, like to the extreme of how musicians, like how they would go. And if it works, God bless them. They're doing what they love, and they're putting on a show. But
shit, in high school before band competitions, we had to like stay silent on the bus when we were like 10 minutes away, and literally have like a mental You know, because when you're talking and stuff, you're not really paying attention in that 10 minutes.
Neither is the crowd, Dan.
Well, no. Well, actually, for us, it was pretty sick, but you had to. It was basically to stay quiet because you would get more focused on your playing if you weren't talking about random shit with your friends in high school. So even in band, they have that in high school, which I don't know.
So is there anything with Wovenwar? Do you guys are in a dark dress room with 50-degree heat in there? Or?
Sweat Logic
for us,
beforehand?
I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just everybody has a couple beers and just like listens to music. Me and Shane warm up, like sing some songs that we can harmonize with just to get our pipes sort of warmed up. And that's pretty much it. I mean, we don't have any sort of, I would say definitely nowadays too, there's a lot less preparation. We used to take things very seriously with the warm up with our old band, and which was great. And which I think, got us, in shape as musicians and stuff. But I think, the music we're playing now, while maybe not quite as technically demanding, actually requires a little more of a relaxed approach. Like when you spend so much time warming up that you've already played the whole set before you get on stage, it sort of takes that like release out of it,
Yeah,
at least for me. I kind of like 2 beers and 10 minutes of vocal warm-ups, and I don't touch my bass until the intro's rolling usually.
Wow, that's pretty cool. But anyways, I know you're a busy guy. I think this will be a great time to wrap up the interview. So you guys have Censorship. New single is out now. You're also releasing your second studio album. Hopefully there's not a sophomore slump there, called Honor is Dead, October 21st, actually a month from today. And this episode will be out hopefully within the end of the week. You guys are on tour coming up in October as well. Who's on it again? Battlecross, Unearth, Soilwork. Yeah, you name it. This is going to be the best metal tour out there. So if it comes around your area, definitely go out and see it.
We'll definitely be at Stanhope.
October 15th, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man.
So it's going to be a party.
Sweet. Well, I'll come and say what's up to me. Let's hang out before the set or something.
Yeah, we'll do. Any you have any plugs before we take this off?
I guess anyone listening to this that has supported the band, and for you guys too as well. Thanks so much, and we look forward to seeing you guys out there on the road.
Oh, hell yeah, man.
All right. Thank you so much. And right before we go, we usually play a song from the band that we're interviewing. Do you have any songs in mind that you would like us to play? Should we do Censorship or?
Yeah, why not? Let's play the new one because, the more people hear that, the better that we'll actually know it at the show. So
there we go.
Right
Learn
on.
this shit, people.
Yep.
Josh, thank you so much, man.
I'll be watching.
All right.
All right, great. Thanks, man.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.